Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Thick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Monday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel here with Joel Elconin and Dennis Thick. On the show today, we have a Bitcoin hack over the weekend, but we have to talk about all the geopolitical news from this week, past weekend, and the upcoming week. We have summits, we have central bank meetings, interest rate policies are going to be decided. So a lot of macroeconomic things kind of hanging over the market this week. So we're going to talk about that as far as sentiment for this morning. We have some individual movers as well we want to get to, and we have a couple earnings, maybe one or two. I'm not even sure. We had some guidance last night on Rent-A-Center and a couple M&A headlines as well. Our guest today will be no one. We're actually going to try something new this week, or at least for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So what we're trying this week is we're going to try to we're going to see how the show goes without a guest, at least for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Tomorrow we'll have a guest, we'll have Nick, and then Thursday we'll have Mark Chaikin. But we're going to see how the show goes for kind of 3 days this week without a guest. We would like your feedback if you like it, if you don't like it, if you want more Joel and Dennis and less Joel and Dennis, and one guest, two guests, three guests, four guests. Let us know what you think. But that's what we're going to try as far as this week is concerned. So that's my little spiel. Joel, how are we doing this morning in the S&Ps?
We're down just a couple points. Nice overnight range. Lower open, found support just above the daily pivot, 73.75. Did take out the highs from last week, but we're below them now. So the big number on the upside is 83.5. Big number on the downside is the pre-market low of 27.74. You have crude in the red by 64 cents at 65.10. Gold in the red by $1.50 at 13.0110. And silver up just about a dime here at 16.84. And we can go into Bitcoin here. There was a hack on a South Korean exchange trading down nearly $1,000, trading down $890 at 6,760. And folks, the low of the move here in Bitcoin is 65.2750 basis the futures. So we will bring Dennis in on this Monday morning. Dennis, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Your horse unfortunately won, Joel.
Wait, Dennis, I have to interrupt you actually.
Go.
We have some breaking news that just came across the wire.
What do you got?
Can you hear this, Dennis? Dennis can't hear this.
Happy birthday, Dennis. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Dennis. Happy birthday. Happy B-Day, Dennis. Happy B-Day. Happy B-Day, Dennis. Oh, yeah.
Could you hear that, Dennis? I don't know if you can.
No, you want to know something funny?
Yeah.
The breaking news just came across the wire. My audio actually cut out there, right there.
Really?
Not a joke.
Oh,
Not
no. Oh,
Not a
man. Well, I played you a birthday song.
Yeah. For some reason, I could not hear
Play it
it.
again.
So
Oh, no, Dennis, I don't care. Oh,
I
Dennis.
almost got to hear the recording because
Oh.
you know why? You know why I can't hear the birthday song? Because I can't hear the intro either. It doesn't go through the
Yeah,
Skype.
but
I couldn't hear it. But you know what? I'll replay the show.
Yeah.
I'll replay the show, and I can hear the happy birthday song.
Oh,
Thank
well,
you,
all right.
Spencer.
It wasn't
I thought that might be what was happening, but it was silent. I was like,
man, I
something's
can tell
going
by the
on here.
expression on his face.
it wasn't the birthday song, but it was I think it was maybe the Canadian version.
Oh,
What song was it?
It was a song. Oh, maybe they couldn't hear it in the chat. I think they could.
did you guys hear that in the chat?
I think they could. I saw it coming through on my audios on my audio
They're
screen
not
here.
reacting.
In any case, it'll be on the recording. But oh man, it was just a song. It was a personalized birthday song for you.
Oh, thank you very much. I'll hopefully be able to hear it on the recording. So
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
I'll hear
check it.
it.
Okay.
Check it.
Okay.
So what is that, Dennis? 41?
yeah, 41 puts are off the board
All
there.
right.
So
All right.
41 puts are worthless. The 43 calls are looking, pretty much they're going to be there. So I think you're going to get there. So
I'll buy
42 years old. I don't know how I got this old. I can remember it just seems like yesterday that I was actually sitting there in grade school looking up at the clock, and it would be like 9. and then it was 9:01, 9:02, and I thought the day would never end. And then I just woke up the next day and I was 42 years old. I don't know what happened. I seriously don't know what happened.
All right. All
Thanks,
right.
guys. Thanks, chat, for everybody for the happy birthday
See,
wishes. Yes,
we
I'm
played it
getting
low
old
key. We
today.
played it low key on the
Yeah.
We didn't say anything. You thought we forgot about you. We didn't forget about
Oh,
you.
I thought you forgot about me. I was
We
like,
didn't
that's okay. They forgot my birthday. That's okay. I'd forget my own birthday if it wasn't for my wife. So,
All right.
like Frank the Tank from Old School. Remember? Oh, Frank, you forgot your own birthday. Well, Ferrell.
Yes.
All right. Let's move on from birthday. Let's talk. Okay, I want to talk your horse just for a quick second because I read your article, Joel, over the weekend, and it was talked about, the conspiracy that this Triple Crown was rigged. You know what? I kind of agree with you here. Like when I read your piece there, I was like, you know what? They keep the other horse out. It sounds kind of. You even had some other stuff to say about this race.
Yeah.
Was it rigged?
I mean, I don't know. First I want to say is, by having my blinkers on and ignoring the favorite, I missed one hell of a perfecta. Gronkowski's horse came in second, and the $2 perfecta paid $89. So you talk about risk reward ratio. That was one hell of a $2 bet. But another thing that I heard about the race, and of course I couldn't have written about this, is that Baffert had another horse in the race that really, I think it was like Resolve or something like that, or Restoration Hardware. No, that who has earnings. But anyways, the horse from the 5-hole went straight out of the gate. So everybody from 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and my horse was the 10, couldn't get in. They couldn't challenge him at the beginning. So I don't know.
They had a horse in the back cutting everybody else off.
Yeah. Then
there's a lot of conspiracy going on here.
Right. And then also during the stretch, the horse was fading. Instead of staying on the rail where you're supposed to stay when you're fading, he moved him out to the middle of the track. But I don't know if any of those pigs out there would have beat him. The horse I liked was Audible. I don't know if we're ever going to.
It was owned by the same owner.
Majority owner. Yeah. Now, I don't even know if you're ever going to get to see this horse race again. $75 million stud fee.
They already said
they already retired him.
No, Justified's going to race again.
He is?
Yeah, they didn't say when, but they said he's going to race again.
If I had him, I'd put him in the barn for good. And I mean, they banked the stud fees for $75 million, but not a great race. I mean, no one really challenged him. Wire to wire in the Belmont. You rarely see that happen. It's also no grade 1 stakes winner was in the race, but whatever he did, he stomped on the field, and maybe we'll just be like the 70s when we had 3 Triple Crowns, or in the 40s when we had 4. But it's good for horse racing, light wagering, so not a big deal. Gronkowski comes in second with a nice perfecta there. But we got to talk about the stock market here, Dennis.
I want to talk Bitcoin. Actually,
Bitcoin.
let's talk this Bitcoin, because we don't give Bitcoin the love, not nearly the love that they give you it on CNBC Fast Money. I'll tell you that. We talk about Bitcoin maybe once a week for like a minute. Let's give it a couple minutes of love here this morning, because, or hate, whatever you want to say, because Bitcoin hack over the weekend. Give us the details here, Spencer. First of all, I thought it was unhackable, but anyways, give us the details.
No, you knew it wasn't unhackable. A kind of small South Korea exchange, CoinRail, got hacked. I've also seen some reports that the U.S. is examining, is wanting to look at the crypto futures markets, and that the CFTC has subpoenaed several major Bitcoin exchanges, Coinbase among them, Bitstamp, for possible manipulation over there as well. So I haven't seen too much on that, just like a headline or two, that the U.S. is examining some manipulation in the crypto futures market.
Because the futures derives its price from those 4 major exchanges, and if those 4 major exchanges are somewhat manipulating price, then the futures price is going to obviously be derived from a manipulated price. So that was I read the piece too, and it is manipulation in all markets to a certain extent, but crypto market is very unregulated. So I would bet the manipulation is a lot more rampant than it is in, traditional equities markets. And, you got other countries where rules are lighter and they can try to manipulate over there too. I did read that paper, or at least I read a piece of the paper, the highlights of the paper, that said that the run from Bitcoin 100 to 1,000 was all manipulation driving it up. There was a professor, I forget where it was, that wrote that paper. just to get the party started, was saying that it was really manipulated upwards. I think there's a lot of manipulation that goes on in this. There's a lot of real money in it too, though. So, at the end of the day here, I've always said, and I've been kind of bearish all the way up, bearish all the way down. I'm going to stay in the bear camp. I mean, yeah, you can look at it technically. It's really all you got. So like Joel was saying, at 6,500, if that can hold, maybe you can bottom there. Maybe you find some support there from that old low. It takes that out. I don't know. I just don't know if I'm a believer in the crypto altogether, let alone Bitcoin being the cryptocurrency that you have to own.
Yeah, and it was a gap down and really hasn't been able to recover. Look at basis, the SIBO monthly futures, and they had to do some rolling over here and everything. But back in February, it hit 6,000, 59.91. We'll round that to 6,000. Yeah, the low in April at 65.27. You haven't reached that yet. So there's only two levels of support in there. It happened over the weekend, so you had to gap down. And just the other thing, I don't know if Spencer has the Bitcoin chart up there or not, but like when you make a low, like you did when you did in late May, and then you bounce, but like you have a really muted bounce here, just sometimes not being able to get away from support. A lot of times, boom, what happens, you break down that support, and same thing on the upside. Consolidation periods are very important here, but I don't know. It's just really lost its interest, and I don't know if it's going to be able to test that $6,000 level today.
I mean, nobody called this better than on our show than Professor Jim Angel, and I'm friends with him as well. Great, analysis that he gave on our show back. When was December, that? Right near the top. I think Bitcoin was down 18,000, and he predicted that it would just fizzle out. It wouldn't crash. It would just slowly fizzle out, and people would slowly start to lose interest, and the price would continue to deteriorate. I mean, that is exactly what has happened. It didn't really have the crash. Yeah, it had little falls, significant falls, but it wasn't like it was dramatic that it fell 60% one day. It's just been a slow, steady decline. And, that's what he predicted back in, when would that have been, Spencer, in February?
No, we did that at the end of December.
No, that was it was second or third week of December.
Just when the futures came
third week
out,
of December.
Dennis,
yeah, it was right
within weeks of it.
With very close to the highs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, he doesn't get enough love for that call on our show. I mean, he was all over it. Just the way it declined. He called it perfectly. So, anyways, that's why you got to watch PreMarket Prep. We're all over that. So, Joel, what are you saying? You played the Bitcoin a few times. Are you thinking about dipping your toe back into the 6,500? Or you fizzled out and you're kind of done with it too?
Yeah, I mean, I got the account open, and I could do it, but there's just what's the catalyst? What's the driver? I was nervous, not nervous, but getting into it, I knew I was riding a bubble, and I think when you're in those bubbles, you could, you gotta be aware. You got to use your parameters. And, 10,000 was my level. If it, took that out, I jumped out a little bit early on my second half here, but what is going to be the driver behind it? I'm not sure.
I don't know what the driver is going to be to come back, but an interesting, let's segue over into the stocks here, because we're in 14 minutes. We haven't talked to stock yet. And this is an interesting, from Hunter at 69 in the chat. He said that IQ and these things, we've been talking about these on the show for the last 2 weeks, IQ, BILI, HUYA, we've been focusing on, and SOGO, thanks to Spinner, we've been focusing on that one too. I mean, these things just continue their rocket ship mode. Again, on Friday, IQ gets all the way up to $34.35. 169 is saying IQ now has the same market cap as Micron. Is that right? I got to go check this out, because I'm, didn't look. And I own both these stocks, full disclosure. But IQ is one that I've lightened up 2/3 of my position. I'm just riding a little bit. I'm playing pretty much with the house's money now, because the stock has more than doubled since I bought it. And I've sold out, enough to get out of it. But yeah, so IQ's market cap is 23 billion. Is that right? Micron's only worth 23 billion?
Micron's 71.
Yeah.
No, okay, so that's not. So strike that. Sorry, 169. It's not. But anyways, still, let's talk, $22 billion company here now. When I was buying this thing a month ago, this thing was around 10, 11 billion. So now we're talking a $23 billion company. Wow. So what do you think here, Joel? Like, this is out of my realm. I own the stock. I put it in there more for a speculative trade, as opposed to a speculative swing trade, as opposed to a long-term investment. But what are your thoughts here? Like, this has been in rocket ship mode, and
You're
I
asking me, you
play
own the
boring
stock?
stocks.
You're asking me, and you own the stock?
IQ. Yeah, when do I sell the rest of this thing? Because it's gone parabolic. It was $20 a week and a half ago. It's now 33.
I mean, I know you don't like to use stops and everything, but like you
gotta in this case.
Like $30. I don't know.
Yeah, it goes below 30. I think you gotta say.
I mean, you could do it for a nanosecond. I mean, 30.12 was yesterday's low or Friday's low. Big pickup in volume yesterday. Don't know what the short interest is. Are they? I mean, I mean, you're not going to really get good financial information on it, right? Because it's a Chinese stock. So I'm trying to see on the earnings calendar here. I mean, just don't try and pick a top. Just let the market take you out. If you get taken out on one of those swoons, then so be it. But man, you're in it. You're playing with the house's money. I have no earnings date here set up for it, so hard to judge it. Just ride the momentum. Let it take you out on the downside.
And the other ones blasted off too. HUYA, which reported earnings, somewhat disappointed, and the stock was actually down almost 10% on earnings day. Well, it got it back the next day. And not only that, it tacked on an extra 5 points. So here's a stock that on Thursday got down to 27.5. On Friday, got up to 35.30 HUYA. So you're talking about a stock rallying $8.50 since Thursday afternoon. I mean, these things are just great. And, it's down here this morning, but you just know it's probably going higher again. I mean, this thing is in blast off mode, and I don't know where the top on these things is. Does valuation make sense on these? Probably not. But, momentum is on your side. So I guess you just got to keep riding the momentum, bring your stops up. And if, they cut through, the trend's your friend. If the trend starts to get broken there, maybe that's when you sell out. But wow, the stock's been in rocket ship mode too.
Yeah, and just keep an eye on the closing price, like as opposed to the high, because that's where folks are marked. And look at that, 34.89. You had a 35.30 high. I mean, also, Dennis, I don't know how much like true ownership this is, unless or if it's just like machines. Like, hey,
I think it's retail too. I mean, and there is markets and there's a lot of institutional traders that believe that retail cannot move stocks. And I will tell you that they can in certain environments, that retail traders, and even though it's only 17 or 18% of the overall market, I don't know where the current numbers are, at certain times retail is very, very influential in the market. And if you get the buzz going around something, it can really move it. And the buzz is going on these things. BILI, like Fino was saying, is the other one. That's Bilibee. I bought back at 13. I sold it a week later at 17. I'm regretting that now because it's almost 19. These things are incredible.
Yeah. We gotta talk about them though, because they're moving in the market and there's activity. Yeah.
That's where the easy money. I mean, I sit there, trying to make 50% or something, a stock like Procter & Gamble can take you years. You're making it in a week and a half. But again, it's speculative capital. You can't throw serious money at these kind of things because you can lose 20% in a day too, where you're not going to lose that usually in your safer stocks. So, you got to be careful when you're trading these things, but the momentum's on your side. You can make some money pretty fast in some of these stocks.
All right, Dennis, BZ Tokyo would like an update on Qualcomm. See if you've done anything that
sold half.
Yeah,
I sold half on that pop. Yeah, you know what I did. So now I've lightened up significantly here. I actually sold. So I had the original position. I sold half of the half back before the merger fell apart. I sold half back then. Now I sold half of the half. So now I'm down to what, a quarter, if you're doing that math right. Quarter of my original position. It's just had a big move. Again, it's come all the way back up. It had a nice pop, and I was like, you know what, on this news, I felt like it was a sell on news opportunity. I basically sold it at the open, right near $62 there on Friday. Still own a little piece. I just don't want to participate a bit, but I lightened up because we're $50. Everybody's hating it. Now in a month here, we get, up 12, 13 points. It's been a big move, and a lot of stocks, have had big moves in the last month. And sometimes it's good to, lighten up your losers or take some gainers into that. So I did lighten up into the Qualcomm, still have a piece, still, like it from a fundamental standpoint, but a little bit too much back too fast.
And will you try and rebuy it again? Like in the
lower 50s?
I
think so. In the lower 50s, if it was to come back down there, I think I would.
Okay.
So now I don't know, it's 60, 61. there was still, the stock was hated a month and a half ago, just absolutely hated. It breached through 50, looked like it was the end of the world. And, then they come back. And, my portfolio actually has come back a long ways because I've had quite a few winners, but the losers in my portfolio have come back too. I mean, Allergan, which is still a big loser in my portfolio, come back like 20 points in the last 3 days.
Yeah.
So it helps. And I mean, sometimes in your investment portfolio, when you get part of your losses back, sometimes it's a time to say, okay, I was wrong. Let's hit the exits. Allergan, we know, is up because Icon took that position, and that was the buying opportunity really that morning. It only opened up a couple bucks. And when you get somebody a vote of confidence from an investor like Carl Icahn, it moves the stock. And maybe there was more news on Friday. I'm not sure of the headline, but it got kickstarted with Carl Icahn taking the position on Wednesday night when we found out.
Yep, it did. It gapped up, and then they had a continuation. You got a little. I was trading higher here in the pre-market session. Let me check out the pricing there. And then I just want to do one other quick thing on Qualcomm.
Down
here.
a couple bucks.
Yeah, I mean, what do? I mean, it all depends. Like, Dennis, I know you're long for quite a bit higher. You want to see more continuation. Your
But I'm not one, and just,
What?
I'm sorry to interrupt it, but I'm not one that necessarily has to get all your money back. And, sometimes when you're wrong, you're wrong because the stock's went straight down on you. So you reevaluate, and then sometimes you get some of the money back. Sometimes it's good to cut those losers. I'm looking at Allergan. Yes, from a fundamental standpoint, but you look, it hasn't been a good stock for me. And there's still probably a lot of overhead supply here. This 170 level is absolutely enormous. It did stall here. It did get through it on Friday, 170.80 kind of, but it's back down below it. So I'll still say you got some major resistance right here, right where we are at 170. Makes me want to lighten up here, but at the same time, it's got some momentum going. So I kind of want to see what it does.
Yeah, and that sector has kind of been part of the favorable rotation too.
It has.
Yeah, so looking at
yeah, money's been flying into biotech a little bit here. Just as of late, you can see Biogen, which is obviously one of your leaders there. It's come back from 260 to 300. So it's a good point you're making there, Joel. Biotech has come back. Celgene, my Celgene really hasn't been, it's struggling to fight. It's trying to fight its way through 80. I think if Celgene could get up through 80, it would maybe open up to 85. Ooh. So that's an interesting setup there. But because it's struggled so much and not participating, it makes me somewhat scared. It needs to get up over 80. That's where CELG needs to get to try to, make that next move. But 80, it struggled there.
Oh, that's a nice looking formation there. You got all those tops there in the upper 79 handle with 79.89 being the highest on May 24th. So you're right. For now, it's resistance here, but nice setup off the, the major low that you had at 74.13, getting the bounce here and now trying to clear 80. I would anything near like a 50% retracement. And that's what I was going to talk about on Qualcomm. Don't know if you have your high in for this move or not. That remains to be seen. But you've moved up basically from 48.5 to 62.5. That's a 14-point move, 7 points. If you could get this in the $55 to $56 area, I think I'd have some interest in adding that long term, and then using the low of the move as a stop out point. And you just, once these things get going, if they can keep going, is the thing. And both these stocks have hit a little bit of a stalling point.
Spencer is talking about the AT&T Time Warner.
I don't know what to think
deal.
about that.
Yeah, they're supposed to get the ruling this week. I mean, we don't know if they're going to get allowed, if it's not going to get allowed. We talked, about this, obviously AT&T's argued for a long time that, there's no antitrust issues here simply because it's, not, it's a vertical merger here as opposed to being the same segment. It's not like they're merging with Sprint. But I can see the arguments both ways here. I'm not a fundamentalist on this to analyze, whether it's going to, go either way. But I'm going to trade it, with what happens. I mean, if obviously the vote goes through, Time Warner's takeout price, you got to do the ratio though. So I'd have to actually, and I will calculate that out. I'll calculate that out for you guys tomorrow. But AT&T Time Warner deal was based on stock at different prices. So it depended on where the price of AT&T was, how much you were going to get as a Time Warner shareholder. I know the original price tag, was valued at 108, but that was based on stock. So you got to reevaluate it here now based on the ratio, based on where AT&T price currently is. So I don't have that math in front of me, but we can do that for you overnight and give it to you there tomorrow. I'll write it down to do that so that we can figure out where Time Warner goes in the case that it doesn't get approved. I mean, obviously it's probably going to go lower if it doesn't. If it does, it's probably going to go higher. Now, AT&T is interesting. I still believe shareholders may not want them to pay this premium, and I think you will see a relief rally a little bit in AT&T if it doesn't go through. I know that's counterintuitive to some people, but I think usually the company that's paying the premium now, they're going to be officially paying a pretty big premium for Time Warner. They might actually hit the stock if it gets approved. So you could see these two stocks going opposite directions after approval day. AT&T, its chart now, though, let's just talk about leave the voting aside. AT&T and Verizon, they've actually been on the comeback trail here the last few days, and we've been talking about this trade, the value trade back in favor, and that is kind of still following suit with stocks like AT&T and Verizon. Higher dividend, they're obviously got some cash flow. I mean, they're a little bit more boring. These stocks have been a little bit more favor the last couple of trading sessions. What are your thoughts here, just on the technicals, leaving the merger out of it?
I mean, from the AT&T, I mean, it did get off the mat and then had some consolidation. Four green candles in a row. Eventually, it'll probably fill that gap up to 34.73. I think that was on earnings. That was just a huge washout day when it lost $2.10, traded 132 million shares. So really not much resistance into that gap area. If they do get pounded off this report once again, or not report, but whether or not the deal goes through, I for sure will be looking at mid-range of wherever the high is for a low risk area. I mean, this is a stock that started the year up near $40, and now still has the huge yield. So I don't know. I'm still would like to buy this on a pullback, and got a gap up to 34.73. Verizon is trading more on just its own merits. It's a nice yield. I wonder when these things, I'll have to check to see what these things go ex-dividend again. But there's a nice level here that you got to keep an eye on, and it's just ahead of $50. We've stalled at 49.20, 49.30, both in the last two sessions, and then also that was a high in May 5th. So, May 22nd. So that's your major resistance in Verizon.
Let's jump over to merger land. We didn't talk about the merger here yet this morning. Spencer, give us details.
You're talking about the KKR merger? Is that what you?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, let me pull it up real quickly. Yep, we have a leveraged buyout, PE firm KKR, paying $46 a share for Envision Healthcare, ticker EVHC. Let me get the chart up right now.
Is that cash or stock?
They're
usually cash when they do these, but
let me see.
It's just because it's not trading at 46 price.
I think it's cash.
It is cash. Okay, so you're trading a little bit off of the price here. It's about $1.30 off there right now at 44.70, which we've seen some significant. The risk arbs are nervous out here lately because you think about last year and a year and a half ago. It seems like on a lot of these deals, they get announced and they actually pop right up to the price right away, and sometimes they even trade above because people think they're going to get another bidder come in. But lately, the risk arbs have been very conservative with their bidding, and you can see this thing $1.30 off of the taker price. And if it is cash, they're basically saying there's still some risk here. So 44.72 is worth trading at here. I mean, maybe a little bit to do with interest rates and the time value of money too. That might be a little bit more of a factor than it was because interest rates have been slowly climbing up. What do you think here, though? Obviously, EVHC, the price is determined. KKR, Joel, it's a stock we don't talk a lot on the show.
Yeah.
But
strong stock. I mean, they usually, strong, steady rise here. Not reacting much in the pre-market. Went off the board at 22.98 and not at all-time highs here. But we're back at some levels we haven't seen in quite some time. 23.29. No, that's actually your May of 2018 high, and then the all-time high up here is over $26, 26.50. Really don't have a feel. Is there any? I mean, there's not a big premium being paid here, so I doubt there's a lot of big sympathy moves, right?
No, nothing really. I mean, the premium was kind of wimpy. I guess maybe this was rumored before. I can see a big run up in the stock back in May. So I wonder if it wasn't rumored there. I'm not following the story at all, though. So I can't, comment whether that's for sure or not. But I'll say it had big volume, 15 million shares already traded here this morning. So obviously trading here heavily, but it looks like the risk arbs have taken over now.
Jazz is asking any comments on X here. U.S. Steel, obviously, that's going to be, we haven't even talked about the G7 meetings or what's going on over there, but this is, a tariff a stock in the eye of the tariffs here. I'm keeping an eye on $38 here. I know you spiked up to $39.23 on May 31st. I'm not sure the probably news, but then you poked your head over 38 a few different times, but you never posted one close above it. So I'm looking at the high from yesterday, 37.51. I see it trading up in the pre-market. I think if you could get up over 38, close above 38, you might have another leg higher in this. But once again, it's just all, in the news, and tariffs or no tariffs, or, what's going to happen. I'm not so much of the G7 with NAFTA. Just, to me, it's just too much news out on this stock, and not a big fan of its earnings patterns either.
It's really a headline stock as of late, especially with the tariff stuff going on. It seems like this consolidates and trades within a low range for 4 or 5, 6 days until the next news headline either drives it up or drives it down. So it's one, even I do a lot of overnight trading. You guys know that. And, I used to look at stuff like this, but it's stock I'm even scared of now overnight, simply because sometimes it has some 2-3 point, it'll move 7-8% on a headline. And, if you're on the wrong side of that, it can get ugly. But, if you just want to talk pure technicals on it, I mean, if it pulls back to 35 with support back in, just at the end of May there, we had multiple lows right around 35. So that's your support. And 40 has always been a big psychological level for this. If you go back on the chart forever, I mean, you can go back, we've cut through it a few times, but it always seems like it's kicking around somewhere there. And when it gets up near 40, it always seems to struggle. I know a couple times it broke through it, but I think you keep playing. You're kind of in the middle of it here, and you're just waiting for that next headline. It's going to move. I mean, it's going to move on Trump. And, obviously, if, tariffs, it's a tariff play here. And it depends on what the Trump Twitter account can move a stock like U.S. Steel 5%. So you just got to be careful when you're trading a stock like this.
All right, a quiet morning here so far. The overnight session did have some activity. We're trading down 75 cents, 27.8175. Still lurking above is the double top from Thursday and Friday. We're September. These are September numbers, folks. So just want you to be aware of that. They rolled over the contract, and then we have the triple witch on Friday too. So
it's sneaking up on us. You're right, Joel.
On this week, boy.
Sneaky. Yeah, I know it seems like a quiet week, but sneaking up on us. Their option expiration. So it's an early one this week. We're looking at the 16th.
Right, because
15th, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's as early as it can be. It's always between 15 and 21.
Because June 1st was a Friday.
Yeah, when you get her on the 15th, that's as early as it can be. So it's sneaking up on us. So option traders, be aware. It's an early expiration this month.
And I mean, and we talked about these other things besides the G7. We have a Fed rate hike coming supposedly. EC updated their bond plan. Bank of Japan is supposed to keep stimulating their economy. So there's a lot of macroeconomic news that, is different from the earnings, but it's definitely going to have some effects on the stock market. No earnings, but a lot of big macro news. Dennis, with the market so quiet here, I was talking about the S&Ps. We're 4 minutes past the imbalances. Is there anything sticking out to you?
There's a few. I mean, we can look, in the banks, I automatically just looked at TLT. TLT is red, so I think the banks will be a little bit stronger here today because of that. Your Deutsche Bank stock also trading slightly in the green, so that's not going to harm it either. Those are the two things that are moving. The banks as of late is just the TLT and Deutsche Bank, and when you see both the TLT down, Deutsche Bank trading higher, I think the banks are going to probably have a little bit of a bid, at least this morning. Oil is very weak. We've got oil trading down. The USO is down 11 cents. If you look at your oil stocks, Exxon, 60,000 a sell, Chevron, 33,000 a sell, both trading in the red. ConocoPhillips is trading in the red as well. Although Conoco, there was some analyst action, wasn't there, Spencer? I saw something on COP. Somebody initiated overweight, didn't they? Throwing you under the bus here.
Yeah, BMO. Initiate, outperform $78 price target.
Okay, so Conoco is trading in the red here right now, but there's some positive analyst action on there, so just watch that and be careful on that one if you're trading it. I want to go to Twitter. Twitter had an incredible day on Friday here once again. The strong get stronger, the weak get weaker. It just continues to be the trade. I think from valuation starting to get stretched here now, Twitter, but it continues to go. 23,000 shares to buy this morning. The party continues. 332,000 shares have already traded here in the pre-markets, trading up 30 cents. I mean, the stock is just hot as hell.
Yeah, and not seen any major news associated. I don't even know. I don't even know where to pick for a target now in this thing.
It's just at 40, it struggled there for a few days, and we knew it'd struggle there for a bit, but it's blasting off
Dennis,
here
I
again.
think you should strike one of the stake dead. Just because I was so right on this, you got to strike one of the.
You were so right. What do you mean you were so right? I was bearish all the way down, and you were wrong. Now your time. It's all about market timing. You're a year and a half later, and you're right.
You know what? The best thing that I did is I just forgot about messing around with the options. I just said, you know what? I want to own this stock forever, and that or not forever.
And where did you end up buying it?
17.
Holy cow, it's a good buy, Joel. Yeah. You got to sometimes the Warren Buffett approach that Joel has on some of these stocks. I tell you, he's just a quiet little Warren Buffett here.
Okay.
He quietly comes in, he buys that Western Digital right near the bottom. He buys the Twitter right near the bottom. There's a couple other ones he bought there. What else you got in that investment portfolio? Are you sneaking buys and right? What else are you putting in there? Because we got to start following Joel on his long-term investments because he does pretty good.
Well, the only one I'm in with you, I'm down $1.50 on.
Well, Kraft Heinz, that was a bad one.
I'm not worried.
But you know what? You get down on them and then you come back. You're one of those that you take a little bit of heat and then eventually when the dust settles, you're in the green. So maybe this Kraft Heinz. As long as Joel's sticking with it, I'm sticking with Kraft Heinz.
Dennis,
that Joel's hot.
100 stocks in your portfolio, and you're the one that.
Yeah, some of them are really crappy. I'm going to start putting the Joel portfolio together.
All right. I wish I was on your VRX or some of these other ones, but it's always good to talk about stocks. The L Brands, did you stick with that one on the
still at you know what, a little bit, and this is just this is kind of one of those I put it in the investment portfolio, but it's not long term. So I bought it with the intentions of not holding it forever, just trying to ride the retail wave here. It's worked. I'm up a little bit here, and at below 35, I don't want it. So I'm just trying to stick with it, hoping it's like that saying that you were saying, a rising tide lifts all ships. I'm hoping the rising tide of the retail will eventually start to lift L Brands too, but that's why I'm in it. Below $35, I don't want any part of it though.
All right, and how you plan the Restoration Hardware with earnings after the?
Well, that thing has just been from valuation. I don't think it makes sense at all, but it doesn't matter. It's one of those that Jason Raznick has been in, and Jason Raznick, I tell you, the only person maybe hotter than Joel is Jason Raznick because it seems like every stock that he buys goes up. So Spencer's shaking his head over there.
I wouldn't quite go that far.
He had the Tesla and the Restoration Hardware. He's pounding the table every time those things pull back.
Yeah, he hasn't told you about. He hasn't told you about the other ones though.
He doesn't tell you. I tell you, man, he was all over the RH. He came on our show. I don't know. It had to be back like in March, and the stock was like 75, and he was like pounding the table on it. That was the bottom. Jason Raznick called it $113, $114.
Yeah,
I don't understand, but it's hot. It's hot too, so you can't argue with the tape.
He hasn't told
Me and Joel never understood. I mean, I go in those stores and it seems like every single thing is like $1,000 too much. So I guess if they can actually sell something, they make a lot of money when they sell it. But the store seems really expensive to me, but not my style. But they sell a couple things and they pay the bills.
Jason doesn't tell you about Taco that he's in though, so.
Well, he should. Maybe that's going to be the next hot one. Maybe. And he came on and was short in Verizon at the highs too. Remember that, Joel?
That's true.
That was. And he was
54.5, and he says this is a screaming short, and it went straight down. He might be more influential. Not Jason Raznick. He's pretty influential out there too.
All right. We got I just wanted to Christian from Hots that was on the show last week. He set up. He sent me something over, some bullish setups here for Restoration Hardware. I mean, I don't know how to think bullish, but he mentioned some options activity, and a lot of people are in the 110, 120 call spread big time, and then 115, 130 selling a put spread. I mean, all these trades are risk defined, but I mean, just going with the trend, man. I mean, these things have been just unbelievable. I don't quite understand it, but that's what they're doing. Going long into this thing it would take a lot of guts, but you could do it with some call spreads, or just really the only thing you probably shouldn't be doing is just selling naked puts to be on the conservative end. Dennis, let's move over. This Sempra Energy. Do you see this thing rebounding today? Is this just all off this? Did I see an upgrade or something? Or with the SRE? Did you see the move in this one, Dennis? It's trading up nearly $10 a utility.
I'm not following the story, but there's got to be something here happening. What's the story here, SRE, Spencer?
I mean,
I have no idea.
The only thing
SRE, I haven't seen a headline on that in a long time.
I think
So $10. It's got to be something.
I think I saw
Elliott Management.
Wow.
I see some headline from Elliott Management there.
boom, boom, boom. I thought I saw a ratings change on this, but
I'm trying to see what it is too. I do see there was something from Elliott Management here. I'm not following stories, so I'm just kind of quickly looking through
I'm now
news.
hunting around too because I haven't. This is one that we should have.
Elliott Management, Bluescape Resources release a letter and presentation outlining $11 to $16 billion.
Just as it made the low of the move yesterday too. Wow. Triple bottom at 100.
Readily value creation sheet. Okay, so it's Elliott Management. There's a letter here that they sent with Bluescape Resources, and they're seeing some value here or something. So I think that is your catalyst here this morning. That's, with my 10 seconds of homework here. So forgive me if there's another headline out there, but just on the quick research, it's what I see. Stock's getting a big pop. And like you said, Joel, I mean, here's a stock that has been in the absolute gutter, and it's getting all of its losses back from last month in one trading session. I don't know. If I was in it, I'd hit the sell button. I'm not in it, but if I was, I think I'd be selling it.
If you want to hold, 110, you had a high at 110.35 on May 8th, and then that's really when it fell off a cliff. So I just use 110. You're trading up above it by a stick right now. So if it holds 110, continue making new highs, I'd stick with it. But a lot of air after 110. It might be one of those scenarios where you see the high in the pre-market session and never see it afterwards. But 110.92, and that's right near the highs of the session, 111.05, and some decent volume being traded as well.
Jump over here. There's a couple other stocks in the chat, and the generics. He's right. Stock Hunter's talking about Teva, VRX, AGN. We already talked AGN on the show. We've briefly mentioned VRX. We haven't talked Teva, though. I own VRX. I own AGN. I do not own Teva. But I'll say these stocks all kind of do move together. Teva's hot, broke out on Friday. VRX is just a monster. Like, this is feeling like I lightened up my position now. I feel like I'm eventually going to sell it out here if it continues to go, because I'm up like 70% a month and a half now, and it's starting to feel a little bit overdone, especially on a stock as big as VRX.
Is it overdone if the all-time high is 263.81?
No, but it can't, because they've sold off so many drugs to raise money. That's off. You can't consider that anymore. So, they knew they were laden with debt, and then they started selling stuff off, and that's what they've been trying to do. So it's never getting back to 250 unless, the market just gets silly. But, it's never getting back there, because they sold off too much stuff. From a fundamental basis, the company's just, not got the cash flow power that it did before, because they sold. But they don't have they've lightened up the debt, which is what they needed to do. So, so that's why, you can't analyze and look at 250 and say, oh, this is eventually going to come back, and I'm buying at 25 and I'm going to make, 1,000% on this. I don't think that's the case, because they've sold off so much other stuff, and they sold off some good stuff too. That being said, generics are hot right now. They've come back. Warren helped with his investment in Teva a little while ago. That helped kickstart it as well, and Teva's hot. And these two stocks just always seem to move together, VRX and Teva. But right now, they're hot as hell.
All right, another stock, 169. Thanks for bringing this up. MNK, Mallinckrodt, was a stock that got beat up. That had a really nice run too, a consolidation at 17, and another bump up here, maybe heading for $20. Spencer is getting some love on the show here from Stock Hunter. Big thanks to Spencer for bringing Fortnite to our attention. I made a killing on here. They just make the headsets for the game. Wait, wasn't me that started talking Fortnite?
It could have been Nick, actually.
Nick.
It could have been Nick. Yeah.
Thank you.
We talked a little bit on the show. Yeah, is Fortnite the one? Which is the game where they parachute in and they all fight each other like the battle royale, and there's 100 people that parachute in the game every time, and you all get your guns and stuff, and whoever last to survive wins. Is that Fortnite?
Yes. Yeah. Isn't that the one?
It sounds fun though. It's like that. What was that movie? That movie with the girl and Hunger Games. It's like the Hunger Games, isn't it? Kind of
a little bit. But going back to who was it, Stock Hunter? But going back to that, here, ticker here, HEAR. They make the basically video game headphones. If you look at their earnings report for the last quarter, it was ridiculous. Like, this company, Fortnite is driving this company, to incredible heights.
And is this sustainable? I mean, okay,
come on.
we have seen these charts and talked about these types of charts for a long time on the show. Stocks went from $1. It was $1 in the gutter here 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Now it's $20. I mean, what it's hot can stay hot. We know this market there. But I'll say when the dust settles on this one, and I don't know anything about the story here. I just know if they're just off, making headsets for a video game, and the way they got the hot game. Yeah, they can make some short-term money from that. Yeah, congratulations to the longs who kicked some butt on this. But I mean, when the dust settles here a year from now, do you think it's $20, Joel?
Nope.
I think it's probably back under $5 in a year. So I'm saying is don't stick this in your investment long-term portfolio and forget about it, because I think you lose money. Now, short-term, these things can stay hot. This thing could go to 40, could go to 50. Who knows? Things are hot. Ride the wave. You're good at this kind of stuff. Continue to ride the wave. But I think when the dust settles, I think it's lower. Same thing with my IQ. I think when the dust settles, I'm in the IQ. I think when the dust settles, IQ, I think is lower than 32 a year from now. But right now it's hot. And could it go to 40 or could it go to 50 in the meantime? Yeah. So I'm going to trail it up with stops. I think you do the same thing on HEAR. If you are, in this thing, I wouldn't want any part of it if it was below 15. Now that's giving you some pretty good wiggle room. I don't know when people have bought it from, and obviously, it sucks to lose 25% of your investment, when it goes from 20 to 15. But it depends on, your, time horizon. It depends on your risk parameters. But you can't enter these type of stocks looking, and say, oh, if I lose 5%, I'm going to be out, because these things are wild. You got to give it more room. So, if I'm trading something like this, I'm giving it a little more wiggle room, but I'm playing with less capital because it's risky.
And there's definitely some hype here. There's
Sure.
In terms of HEAR. There was a comment I saw June 6th. An analyst from Needham said that their channel checks have indicated that products are sold out or are selling out everywhere. We looked on Amazon that same day, and there was like a ton of product available. So, there's definitely some hype involved here. But anyway,
I think ride it till you can, but don't get stuck with this one, because it's like a hot potato, and eventually somebody getting burned.
All right, boy, going from talk about high flying stocks to slow movers here. DC1's thoughts on Newell Brands, which is the old RBD Rubbermaid. Here's a stock that falls into that kind of value area. Yep.
Coming back.
Trading up 57 cents. The reason for that is they added $2.5 billion to their buyback plan. So I'm not a big fan of boosts like that when they're off buybacks and stuff. But if I was
they don't seem to last.
Yeah. If I was long term, I wouldn't sell it into it. I'd keep an eye on 25.86, all the way up 26.35. There were a couple highs there. So I'm not buying it off this buyback plan, nor if I'm long, am I selling into it. This stock looks like it could be turning the corner here. The old RBD, Newell, I still call it's Newell Brands, but it used to be Newell.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
who
remember
has
the RBD
garbage
symbol.
cans that are made by
Is Uncle Carl in this?
Isn't
Uncle Carl in this?
I don't.
There's some activist in there.
Is there?
Maybe it's not. I feel like Uncle Carl's in this. Chad, if you can confirm, is that Carl Icahn in this? I feel like he is.
Okay, I have to check.
In any regard, again, this is a value stock. We've talked about it. Value stocks have come back into favor the last couple of days, so that continues to be the case here.
Carl
so if you
Icahn
look,
is
obviously,
in this.
Dennis.
Carl Icahn is in this, and he increased his stake in the last 13.
Who says you're losing your memory at 40?
Yeah, see, 42. I still got it. I still can remember sometimes. Value stocks back in favor. Look at when the best value indicator, and I know you can look at different things like there's some value indexes out there as well, but I always just like Berkshire Hathaway. I mean, he buys all the value stocks, and when you see Berk.B start to catch a bit, you start to think like stuff like that catches a bit too. And Berk.B last 3 sessions has actually come out of the gutter here from 190 and starting to show some light. So there's some rotation back into value. It continues here the last couple of days. By value, I mean low P stocks, higher dividend stuff, the stable cash flow stuff, the stuff that you're not going to get murdered on, but the stuff you're not going to make a killing on. It's a little bit of a risk-off market, at least in certain stocks as of late.
You ever traded Brick A?
No, I'm scared to even bring it on my screen just in case of a keystroke error. $305,000 a share. Oops, I bought 100. Spreads $20,000, or in this case, in the pre-market, it's even more than that. But I don't even bring Brick A on my screen. So I know there's some people that do the Burk.B to Burk.A, and there's actually some traders that trade that ARB against each other because you can convert the Burk.A to Burk.B. Wasn't Jeff Goldman, some of his guys doing that? Trading the Brick A,
one
Brick
of his
B stuff?
buddies. Yep, they were.
Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
there are some traders that do the ARB on the Brick A, Brick B. I just trade Brick B, and I trade Brick B quite a bit. It's easy to trade, $196 only, so a little bit more conservative spreads. And obviously those two stocks, it's following the Burk.A, but I don't know if the Burk.A is the leader. I don't trade close enough to know which is the leader or not. But they influence each other, like in any arbitrage trade. And when you're talking share class arbitrage, one stock's up a little bit too much, it gets sold, and the other one gets bought.
Yeah, problem is the wide spread on that. If
It's too wide to really, and working that spread's really hard.
I want to bring out one ratings change here and just look at some stock action. Match Group here is catching an upgrade at Jeffries, and boy, oh boy, it's upgraded to buy. Raise the target from 40 to 50. Just pull up MTCH and then IAC. And remember when they got hit when Facebook came out with the coming out with like the dating
with their own match or dating service, and potentially talking about it anyways.
I mean, if you would have bought it on that day,
buy the dip.
Yeah, but look at this.
Buy the dip wins again.
IAC. I mean, this thing is almost all the way back up to its all-time high. Yeah. And this bottomed on the second day after the big news. That was really a clean pattern there. Put a double bottom in it right at the 129 area, then never looked back. So just an example, if even when these stocks had big news, maybe don't trade them that day, but like the following day or 2 or 3 days later to see.
If they stop making new lows.
Yes, exactly. But,
and that puts in 2-3 lows in the same area and then starts to catch a bid. That's usually a sign. You're right. So it came all the way back here too. Now, from this perspective now, now you've got a lot of people who bought this thing back at 45, 46, 47, that loss aversion, they'll be looking to sell here. So I think as you get, the IAC up to the 160, 165 area and the MTCH up over 45, I think you find sellers. So if you're buying it now, I feel like you're way late to the party. So I think Jeffries is late down. This upgrade here is way late to the game, in my opinion.
And you've already found a seller here in the IAC. I mean, you had a high at 57.84 on Friday, but your last 3 highs were right in the 160 handle, with 160 even being your high on Thursday. So, and then your high on Monday was 159.85. So here's a situation, not a heavily traded stock. 160 is their target, but they just don't want to stick, 50,000 shares out there, 160, because it only trades 6, 7, 800,000 a day. So they let it get up to 160, 62 one day, then they whack it. Then the next day they wait up to 160, 17. Then they whack it, and then they keep coming down. So that's a big area. And then the high on the day when it fell out of bed was 161.61. So all kinds of resistance in this one. MTCH is did have some resistance here, but now is blasting through, but it's on pretty light volume. No major number in that one to look at, except for the high before it broke down was 47.32. I don't think we're going to see that today.
Can we talk about
this room over 45?
Can we talk about EA? We have the big E3 conference this week. It starts today, actually, but they made an announcement on Sunday, actually, that they're moving to a subscription model. They're going to let people subscribe, pay $15 a month or $100 a year to access more than 100 of its games. So it's moving from an all out ownership model of games to just subscribing to their library.
Leasing games.
Yeah, leasing games essentially.
Like the automobiles, they went from buying to leasing. So now you lease video games as well. Interesting.
I think the analysts, at least this is an article in the journal, the analysts like it. The analysts that they quoted, at least Mike Olson, who's been on our show before, he likes it. It's steadier revenue. So probably bad news for GameStop, as you mentioned on the
I don't think it's great news for GameStop here, and it's not surprising that GME is actually trading down here in the pre-market on this. I'll tell you though, the esports thing is for real. We talked about this, multiple times over the course of the last 3 months on the show. EA, I'm on the record saying I said, when they were pulling back that EA, ATVI, and the other one, Take-Two, are going to be making new highs by the end of the year. EA already is. Take-Two has come back a long ways from those lows, and Activision ATVI has come back a long ways from the 65, 66 when I mentioned that originally there. So I'm sticking with these things. I'm not in any of them. I wish I was in them all though. So I'm bullish all these stocks. It just every pullback they get, I think, is a buying opportunity. It's just their money that they can make, from selling these skins, stuff within the games. Now they're leasing the games. They're smart. And obviously this video game thing is just hot, at least right now. I mean, there's that Ninja guy making $500,000 a month just from streaming, watching this guy to play video games. He's making $500,000 a month just streaming his feed of watching him play video games. It's incredible. So these fans are hardcore. There's so many people that are hardcore into video games here. And these three companies are right in the middle of it.
And on the negative side, we've talked about the high short interest in GameStop, but boy, this is not good for them.
No.
The rally seems to be stalling here, folks. If you're trading to GameStop, keep an eye on 14. Let's call it 1470. Your last four highs in a really tight range from 1462 to 1469. So until you get back above there, could be continued pressure on GameStop. And EA has no connection with Fortnite, right? We're getting asked that in the.
No, they're private.
Yeah, they're private.
Fortnite is owned by, it's a private company, I believe.
I should know this. It's
I can't remember
Epic Games, I think.
Epic Games, and they are private, correct?
They're private.
Yeah, that'll be if that ever come public, that'd be a huge IPO.
Yeah, there's a couple of those types of companies that could go private or public.
3 minutes left here. There's not that much in ratings land. Like we mentioned Match. There's APA catching upgrade Argus. Full disclosure, I got some APA long. DTE downgraded Wells Fargo. NXPI downgraded at SunTrust. We got FDC upgraded by Goldman. Is there any other ratings that were jumping out at you there, Spencer? Mondays are always somewhat quiet. Ratings land.
Yeah, nothing interesting. A couple boring ones like SunPower, which is getting a downgrade, but we discussed that last week. You mentioned DTE. No, nothing really. All
right, just want to bring up a couple stocks in Barron's if you're curious why Love. I did see it trading in the green. Sunny skies for Love, trading up 59 cents. They just they had the on-air in-air incident, but they just very bullish article in there. Don't mind this one. Made the low of the move at 49.93. That was 3 days ago, holding the psychological $50 level. So if you're trying for a swing trade here, at least you have a stop on the move. I don't know if I'd be chasing this stock. Up 62 cents at 51.10. Pre-market high 51.35. On your daily charts, 51.40. That was your May 5th high. So keep an eye on that. Dennis, are you in any airlines?
No, not in any of them. Higher oil prices have always scared me, and I wasn't saved for a while, and it had a big run up. I actually did okay on it when it ran from like 30 to 45 or 46 bucks. I played it. You can see it back in October. I'm kind of interested here because the charts look like on some of these things that they are potentially bottom. I don't mind the $50 call here from Barron's. I think there is some support at LUV 50. So if you're buying it here, I'd say, below 50, it starts to get a little bit dicey. But if it can hold 50, I see the argument there. I mean, Delta's kind of held on a little bit better. UAL's held on a little bit better. You can look at JetBlue as another one, a smaller airline there. It's kind of hanging out near the lows. But I mean, if you think this value trade is coming back into favor, some of these airlines aren't trading that extreme of multiples.
Okay, and let's see here. What else did I have from Barron's?
What was on the cover?
The cover. I should know that. It was
it stock or
power plays? Talking about the changes in energy and changes in electricity. So,
okay. Is there any stock specific from that?
You know what? I just glanced over that one. It was more about batteries. So I guess the only stock to talk about that would be Tesla. Did you see the run that had?
And Energizer, right?
Oh, that's right. What's it? ENE for the Energizer?
I think so.
ENR.
But just real quick, Dennis, just finish up with your thoughts on Tesla.
Well, it's up $5. It's getting another lift here again. I mean, it's back in rocket ship mode. And from valuation perspective, I'll say I don't get it, but it doesn't matter. What's hot is hot. And am I short in this? No. I mean, this thing is, held and it's back up above 300. And it seems like whenever it gets above 300, the bulls are in back control. I think it's eventually probably going to see 350 here again. So valuation makes no sense. Doesn't matter. It's Tesla. It's hot. That's what the market we're in right now. So it's up another $5. I think this thing could see 340 or 350.
Okay. All right, Spencer, 9 o'clock, just a few minutes after here. You want to wrap things up and preview the show?
Yeah, and again, let us know what you guys think of or thought of the show today. Didn't have a guest intentionally. Will not have a guest. Most likely not have a guest Wednesday and Friday as well. So let us know what you think. If you liked it, you didn't like it, we want to know. You can email premarket@benzinga.com to kind of share your thoughts over email if you like, or just tell us in the chat. That works too, or tweet at us, which a lot of people seem to do. Whatever floats your boat, but you can do that. Share your feedback, and we would love to hear it. So that's it for the show today. If you missed any part of it, you can catch our podcast, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Play, I believe as well, should be up now. Just search for PreMarket Prep on any of those sites. Thanks to all of you who joined us in our chats today. premarket.benzinga.com, youtube.com/Benzinga TV. Hope you all have had a good morning so far and have a good rest of your day, and we'll be back with you on Tuesday.